Yo, what's good my fellow Magic Knights? It is your boy DEADMANVINCE back with yet another Black Clover mobile video. Hope everybody has been enjoying the live streams lately and hope everybody's been enjoying the content in general. And hopefully everybody's been enjoying the game. I see a few people are kind of like complaining about the state of the game right now, but I do want to remind people that the game has only been out for like not even 4 months yet. Give it like 2 more weeks and then we're at the 4-month mark. But yeah, the game is evolving, as it goes along, and I'm enjoying it. I'm still finding things to do even to this day. I actually wanted to go ahead and talk today about what character should you be prioritizing to get LR, and I kind of have like a tier list set up for you guys, so we will be on the legendary tier maker website. But yeah, we're going to talk about which SSR characters or mages you want to get to LR first, and then we're going to talk about the SRs and then rares, obviously in other videos, but just so you know that we have that coming, give you a little foresight. Also, if you guys do want to see the channel grow, then definitely go down below and smack that subscribe button and also hit that like, because the Dead Man is trying to reach 500 subscribers. You usually want to do things like a little kind of like milestone sort of like set, right? So instead of thinking about trying to get 1 million subscribers automatically, definitely taking it in steps, baby steps. 500, then 1,000, then so on and so on and so on, right? But the Dead Man's birthday is actually also in 5 days, and fun fact, my birthday, September 12th, is the same birthday as Veto's, and Yami's birthday, September 17th, is actually the same birthday as my sister's. So Virgo gang, Virgo family here. But yeah, if you guys could leave a like and subscribe and even comment down below and let me know, and also join the Discord, then definitely do that. It has nothing to do with in-game stuff. Actually, right now I'm farming experience potions to get all of my mages to level 100. I currently only have 14 left, and after I get them all to level 100, I'll kind of do like a video showing the progress of my account now. I am basically the only true whale on this game, or not even basically, literally, I am the only true whale playing this game on YouTube. Everybody else is kind of like anywhere from free to play to like light spender kind of territory. But yeah, let's go ahead and hop on Tier Maker and get into our tier list here. Alright guys, so before we get into like our breakdown of which mages you should be prioritizing for LR, I do want to go ahead and kind of like break down the tiers and kind of give you some rhyme and reason as to why I put every mage in the tier that they are in. So, the first tier right here that we have, the must max category. That category means that the mage is just too beneficial for your account, and this is a very different video from a should you summon video. This is like a, oh, you already have these characters, since you have these characters, these are who I would recommend you work on, right? So the first tier is going to be, if you have these characters, they're too beneficial for your account for you to not be working on, and you absolutely do want to prioritize them before anything else, because as we know, materials in this game are very expensive and take a lot of time to grind up. Even with the times 3 grind button, right? It still takes a lot of time to grind up materials for like an entire team of mages just as opposed to one mage, right? So that is going to be, these are going to be the ones that you absolutely want to throw your materials into first and foremost. Then we have Very Good Choice, which would be our second tier here. This is like not the highest priority, but they can have a major impact on your account if you do work on them, and they can be very good benefits that you get from them, right? So this is going to be any mage that maybe is very, very good and was even maybe thought to be very good when they first released, but now they have like kind of like a replacement. So I kind of like bumped them down just like a tier, just because there's something that can do their job better, or maybe does their job a little differently but still gets the same intended effect, right? Then right here we have the Can Be Fun tier. The Can Be Fun tier means that the mage is not necessary to your account, but if you do work on that mage, they can be pretty nutty. You can put up good numbers. You can have a good time with the mage, right? Hold off for now is going to be mages that aren't necessarily the best. They're not absolutely the worst, but they are not absolutely the best. I don't even know if I want to consider them like could be fun, mages, right? But just like, you have better options, plenty of better options that you could choose from, and maybe you want to wait to see if they add something into the game or another character into the game that has a lot of synergy with that character and can, actually make them pop. Then the last tier, we have the garbage tier. The garbage tier is like, bro, do not even bother wasting your materials on this mage. If literally you have every other mage and every other tier already worked on, like level 100, all that, then sure, go ahead and waste your materials on the garbage tier character. But even still, garbage tier, I consider there are some SRs that are even better than like garbage tier SSRs, right? But let's go ahead and start off right here. We're just gonna take it from the top because we have Season 1 Asta right here. So Season 1 Asta. Season 1 Asta is a mage that when he first came out into the game, when the game first dropped, he was on the seasonal banner, and people thought that he was like a very good mage, and he was a good mage. He has like high speed, he usually gets attacks in before the enemy team can. If he swipes somebody, he can get another turn going again. He does pretty good single target damage. One of the gripes that I have about him is the fact that he is not a AoE mage or anything like that. I personally put him in the Can Be Fun tier. So I put him in the can be fun tier, and these are all based off of my personal experience. I put him in the can be fun tier because if you work on him, he can be a really good unit. He can be really fun. But I have had different teams built up in PvP. So in PvP for the first season of the Arena, right? Or in Black Clover Mobile for the first season of Arena, my team was looking like Jack, I believe, Yami, Vengeance, and then who else? Mimosa, right? That was like my team. It was a very weird comp, but it worked. That's the crazy part. The team very much did work. And Asta would show up, you know, and he would get some hits out on some mages, but he wouldn't always guaranteed kill. Then Mimosa, literally, even if he did kill, Mimosa is literally reviving the mage. Literally, I'm using Red Yami to burn this man Asta down. So yeah, Asta I put kind of like as a mid tier, kind of like mage. Maybe when the game first dropped, he was super good, but currently at the state of the game right now, and guys, if you're watching this as a Canadian player or whatever global does drop, if you're going back and looking over this tier list because you want to show Deadman some love and scroll through his channel, please do. Then, you know, this is going to be a little bit skewed from your experience because Asta's going to be like a very dominant character when the game starts out, but he will lose what's the word I'm looking for? He will lose his hype, you know, he'll lose some flames, right? So I'm going to put him in the mid tier right here. And like mid is not bad. Mid just means that you're not the absolute best, but you're not the absolute worst. You're just like in the middle, right? I feel like he's still a solid option you can put on your PvP team if you want to. And he's not the best for farming, I would say, just because he has no AoEs like in his kit. So things can take a little bit longer if you're using him. But next up, we're going to go over to Season 3 Asta. And I'm going to go ahead and let y'all know right now. Season 3 Asta, I'm going to put in the very good choice category. So when I first read over Season 3 Asta, I read his kit, and at first glance, I was just like, that's the thing about these mages. You gotta get them into the game and actually like, play with them. But when I looked at his kit after the first glance, I was just like, yeah, I don't know how good of a mage he's gonna be. But then, we actually use him in battle. He's very, very good. He has a chance to taunt the entire enemy team, which I do like. So I'm somebody who believes that taunt should be like a buff on the mage themselves and not a debuff on the enemy team. But at the same time, I can understand why taunt is a debuff on the enemy team. It makes it a lot more, you have to be a lot more selective, even with your tank units, right? But also, Asta can tank out a lot of damage. He can dispel debuffs from your team. He can also, he can give himself immortality whenever he does dispel debuffs from your team. And if they try to kill him on that turn, then Asta's just not dying, and then you can literally heal him right back up to max HP if you wanted to. So that makes Asta a very good tank, a very viable tank. And I have not used him like super deeply in depth, but I've used him enough to know that like he does a good job. This is another case of a mage that is all single target, but I don't really fault him for that because he is more so, he is a tank literally, and his single targets have extra effects to them that make him a lot more useful, I feel like, than this Asta right here. So I will put him in the very good choice category. Then we go to regular Charlotte here. So regular Charlotte, believe it or not, I actually put her in the very good choice category as well. So regular Charlotte, she is very good for farming stages, and that is kind of like what my you know decision making is based on mostly. Even though I am sweat and I do spend money in the game and I have all the characters and blah 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 this that and third, and I have all these options for characters, I say that it's even more impressive that I have an option to use any character and I still continue to use her to this day. Charlotte has this really cool debuff called Mark, and marking pretty much marks an enemy, and if that enemy dies, whoever killed that enemy, they get another turn for that turn, right? But not only can she mark one enemy, she marks like all enemies, right? Because that mark is not a chance debuff, it is a guaranteed like debuff, and it's an AoE attack, so you can mark the entire enemy team, and literally in the farming stage, so my team would be like Charlotte, Red Yami, Sally or Finral, because, you know, supporter in general, and then we have either SR Mimosa, or Noel. Noel is going to be the last choice, right? Typically, what I'll do is, Charlotte's a little faster than Yami because she's a debuffer, so she will get the mark debuff out, and then we'll hit with Yami. Yami kills somebody, Yami gets a second turn, I get some big damage on somebody else. Then we hit with Noel, Noel kills somebody, gets a second turn, and then she's like wiping that room, right? But you can see a lot quickly that the marking debuff is actually super beneficial, not even just for Charlotte, but also for her team. Also, she has bleed on her AoE ultimate, and she can bleed the entire enemy team. And if you use Yami's skill 2, he can actually like guaranteed stun somebody. So she not only is a good unit for farming, but she also has very, very big synergy with the Red Yami, who is still one of the best farming units in the game till this day. Next up, we're going to go ahead and talk about Season 4 Charlotte. Now, guys, there is no surprise. Season 4 Charlotte is a must-max character. Season 4 Charlotte, pretty much on her basic attack, has the ability to put counterattack on your strongest mage, which is typically like your best DPS, right? And sometimes your DPS gets targeted quite a bit because they have like the lower HP stat or lower defense. Sometimes it feels like you know a rhyme and reason as to why the bots in the game choose a certain character to attack. Other times it doesn't really make a lot of sense. But with her basic attack, she can put counterattacks on the highest attacking mage, which is very crucial. If you have a mage who has the highest attack and that mage has like an AoE on their basic skill, then you are literally just burning the enemy team away for free. Not to mention, if you get her skill 2 popping, then she has total defense, which pretty much gives all the damage you take is just negated. It's just blocked. It's ridiculous, right? And she doesn't put that on every single mage guaranteed, but she has a chance to put it on every mage, I'm pretty sure. Then you go over to her ultimate skill, and her ultimate skill has a 60% chance to give your entire team a counterattack. And if you get it maxed out, it has a 100% chance to give your entire team counterattack. Yes, yes, you heard me. 100% chance for your entire team to counterattack. And if you can get her 5-star, this is more of a sweatier option and more sweaty luxury. If you can get her to 5-star, then you can change her 1-turn counterattack from skill 1 and her ultimate into a 2-turn counterattack. So that's really ridiculous. Not to mention, one of her passive skills, or no, her passive skill is, no. Is her passive skill or her skill page? One of the two. They give you skill points every time you get hit. I'm pretty sure there's 2 different things in her kit that give her like 2 skill pages whenever she gets hit. So Charlotte is absolutely a must-max unit. She's very good for your team. She's brand new. She's on the technically the best banner of the game. So the best banners in the game are technically going to be like your seasonal banners, because every character that's not a limited character prior is going to be on that seasonal banner. And you know, limited character would be like Julius, and then you also have the other seasonal mages. None of those mages are going to show up on the next seasonal banner, but every seasonal banner has all the general release mages and the original 10 mages in the game every single time they come out. So technically the seasonal mages are kind of like the best banners each month, unless they drop like a limited banner, which you have to wait for the unit to come back. But then at that point, it's whatever. Now, let's talk about Season 3 Charmy. Season 3 Charmy is a must-max. If you've been playing the game on the Japanese or the Korean version, then you already know that Season 3 Charmy is a must-max unit, right? So Kahono dropped, and Kahono was like the first mage in the game to heal based off of her HP, not her magical attack, which is very, very important, because when you heal off a magical attack, if you get magical attack lowered, then your healing is not going to be as impressive. You're going to maybe become paperweight, right? Basically, Charmy heals off of HP just like Kahono does, and it's like continuous HP recovery, not like a one-time heal, but just continuous. And Kahono's HP percents are lower. No. Kahono's HP percents are lower, but she heals like over the course of like 4 turns, typically with her moves. So she has some skills that are like, oh, give this ally, you know, this much of their maximum HP for 4 turns. But the problem with that is that, one, since it's 4 turns, yes, the percentage is going to be smaller. Kahono's healing on one of her skills scales off of the ally that you're healing's HP. But if your DPS is very low, your DPS is not going to, first of all, it doesn't have a very good like health stat, but you're going to heal your DPS 4% of their HP. That's kind of mid-tier healing, I feel like. Charmy heals on all of her skills based off of her own HP. And since she is a healer, she has a very big HP pool. It's like 72,000, like level 100 without any extra shit. Is that 5-star as well? I believe it's also 5-star, but still. Charmy has a very big HP pool. Her skill 1 literally heals the lowest ally of your team a certain percent of her HP. Her skill 2 literally heals everybody on your team a certain percent of her HP. Her ultimate heals a certain percent of her HP for everybody, and it's continuous over 2 turns. So she has a good like constant heal always going for you. The one thing that makes Charmy absolutely god tier though is the fact that if Charmy were stunned, frozen, mutated, whatever, you can still get healing on your team, because her passive is that she heals for 3% of her maximum HP on the lowest HP ally whenever somebody on your team takes a turn. So literally anybody on your team takes a turn, not even Charmy, whoever has the lowest HP is going to automatically get a 3% heal onto their shit. Not to mention that if you get her 5-star, that 3% heal turns into a 10% heal, which is absolutely massive when her HP is something like 100k, you know, and like my Charmy's HP right now is like 105k, I believe, or something like that when I'm in mission. But like, I'm not even done fully building her out. I still need some better gear pieces. I still need to get some better accessories on her too. I don't even have an LR accessory, and she's still missing the last star. So Charmy is absolutely a must-max unit. She makes your grinding experiences, she makes honestly like a lot of things in the game just a lot less brain numbing. Next up, we're going to talk about Fauna. Fauna is going to be another mage that is a very good choice. So when Fauna first came out, everybody was super hyped about Licked, right? Because if you played the Japanese or Korean version, it was Fauna and Licked dropped together, and everybody was like, oh, Licked, 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 Licked. I need Licked, right? Everybody wanted to be a crit machine. Everybody wanted to get all big and sweaty for PvP, when PvP in this game is just bots. It's really not as crazy as people make it seem, right? But Fauna is like a very, very, very good farming unit, especially because the farming dungeons are going to be your red, green, and blue stages, right? Meaning that they have red, green, and blue enemies. The stage that Fauna is dominant in, obviously, is the red stage because she is a blue unit. So when you take her into that stage and she's just burning down the damage, she's just shooting out damage left and right, putting burn on enemies left and right. She has lifesteal as well. She hits an enemy who's burned. That never really procs for me because the team kind of like dies a little too. The enemies that you're fighting in a room kind of die too fast, and you got to get your burn set back up. Her skill too hits super hard for whatever fucking reason. Her ultimate hits really hard, and she does more damage if her HP is full. And her single target, like basic skill, hits pretty hard as well, right? But Fauna just has a really, really good damage, a really good damaging unit. Also, the red gear stage is the stage where you want to farm gear the most because you get attack speed and defense gear, which is like some of the most basic sets that you could need. So farming that stage is pretty essential in the game, and literally out of all these mages that we're looking at right now, 3 of them, 2 of them in the must max tier and 1 of them right here in the very good choice tier, they're all blue, so they'll be dominant in that stage, absolutely dominant. Then these 3 are like red, and this gear stage is not farmed as much, I feel like, but even still, Charlotte is who I use in that stage. I also use her for talents. I use her for any stage that like red mages are required, right? Now, for our next mage, garbage tier, you already know, bro. Green Fuego. I am a Green Fuego until the ends of the earth, bro. I'm a Green Fuego hater until the ends of earth, bro. Fuego's a cool character in the series, man. I love his character. He's a stand-up guy. People call him Fraud Golian, but like, it's like how much of a fraud is he? This man had to fight arguably the strongest enemy at the time in the series, and he got caught off guard by a very surprising fact that nobody in the kingdom knew. He literally had to fight the King of Devils. Like, Fuegolian gets dunked on a lot, but like, do you look at the people he's fighting before you say he's Fraud Golian, bro? Fuego's a cool dude. Mage in the game, Green Fuego, absolute garbage tier though, shit tier, dude. I've used Fuego in so many different events, and like, yeah, he kind of gets the job done, but it's just like he's just not strong enough in my opinion, man. He gets extra damage on his basic attack if you have DOT on the enemies whenever you attack, but that requires setup from another mage, or that requires an extra turn of setup for him to do damage on his skill 1, because his skill 1 typically doesn't hit as hard, and then you get burned with his skill 2. But if the enemy's faster than you and they get more turns than you, then they take the burn away. It's just like, is he really going to get that extra damage on his skill 1? If he had burn on his skill 1, maybe I'd like it. I don't know. Maybe a little more speed. I just don't know what the deal is with this man. And they've literally buffed him twice. And I still hear people saying he's shit. Like, once I used him at first, you know, I was kind of good off of him. I was kind of done off of him. But, you know, everybody else is still using him, I guess, and they're just like, yeah, he's still not hitting, bro. So I'm just like, yo, what? I don't know what to tell you, bro. There ain't really much I can do for this man, and there's not much I'm trying to do for this man. Hey, bro, buff this man to the ceiling. I don't know, because he's just not working, bro. Now, they could, whenever they do release, because, you know, every game has their form of, like, limit breaking, Extreme Z Awakening, Holy Relic, whatever you want to call it, right? Every game has this form of limit breaking. Whenever they do that, maybe this man Fuego can be a viable option, but, like, for now, I really would use SR Green Uno as a DPS over this, man, to be real. Now, let's get on the lighter note. Season 4 Fuego, great guy, great dude. He has the ability to take away barriers on his ultimate, which I feel like is a lot more impactful than a lot of other mages, because a lot of other mages take away barriers on their skill, on their team skill, their united skill. But typically the united skills like damage isn't as good as like the ultimate or even the skill 1 or like the skill 2, right? So it's very good that this man has barrier like takeaway on his own, because you got to think about the fact that if you were running him on a team and the person that was beside him died, you no longer have access to that united attack. But since you have access to his ultimate, if the enemy puts up a barrier, you can still take that barrier away. I take a lot of, like, I really do like that effect. Also, he gets a lot of extra fucking damage if the enemy is on fire, if the enemies are burning, bro. And it's like, I'm pretty sure he gets damage per like stack of burning on all the enemies collectively. Yeah, Fuego's literally fucking ridiculous. Like, in PvP, shout out that man Ward Slug, bro. This man Slug says in PvP, he basically, and I'm not using this Fuego in PvP just yet. I like 5-star characters in PvP. But basically, He explains how, you know, Noel's enemy defense teams with Noel will put their shield up, or like with Raddy's puts their shield up, and then he just uses this ultimate, takes that shield away, and then claps, because he takes the shield away before they even, like, before the ultimate even goes out, right? But yeah, Fuego hits pretty hard. I literally, when I was farming him, so one of my like basic tests for mages, because I'll run the Affinity Dungeon and boost their Affinity, right? When I first got Fuego, I was running him in the Affinity Dungeon. I had him at level 60. I had like a basic, like, kind of like gear set on. It was all LR, but even still, he couldn't have any accessories on or anything like that. Basically, this man was doing pretty good fucking damage as an SSR at level 60 with the Clovers, right? So it was just crazy to me that I was sitting there watching the runs go, and I was like, yo, why is this man hitting so hard right now? Fuego does really good damage though. He's just got very good base, like, you know, attacking him, and he's definitely got that dog in him with all that extra burn, and it feels like this is what they needed to do with this Fuego. Like, look at this Fuego, bro. He's just looking at you, and this one's yelling at you. This one's got the hype. He's hyped up. He's got the hype up Riz, bro. They said that Fuego was possibly one of the strongest mages in the series, and he could be the Wizard King, bro. This Fuego, I can't see it. This Fuego, I'm feeling it, bro. I'm feeling it. Gym Teacher Fuego for the win, bro. This man's in a tracksuit with a fucking t-shirt on. He's on his demon shit, bro. Let's go over to S2 Ghost. S2 Ghost is going to be another very good choice. He is a supporter. People tried to shit on his skill page, but his skill page, I'm pretty sure, just makes it so that you have AOT, not AOT, DOT, I said Attack on Titan, DOT immunity. I don't think that's shitty at all, because you know how many forms of DOT? Burn, shock, poison. Cool, I just named 3, but those 3 things, I've been doing stages before against like stronger stages, right? At the start of the game especially. Like, I've had my mages die because they had like a little bit of HP left, and right before I could get that heal in, they died because of like DOT or some shit. So that is good. I don't think his skill page is bad. He is basically a buff mage. He introduces a new buff, Intense Sunrays. Intense Sunrays is a pretty formidable buff. I'm pretty sure it gives you extra defense, or is it extra attack? While I look it up on the wiki over here on the side, he also gives you extra fortify, which is like damage reduction at the cost of like a little bit of his own HP whenever he does his ultimate, so that's not bad. He gives you increased damage done on his basic skill, and dispels DOT on allies, so that's very good on a basic skill to be able to do 2 things that impactful. Then he also has, where is it? Intense Sunlight. Intense Sunlight increases damage dealt by 5%, cannot be removed, stacks up to 3 times. So this man could give you 15% increased damage dealt to the enemies. He also gives penetration increase by 40%, and he also does all attack increase on his skill 2. So his skill 2 is very powerful. He uses 10% of his own HP, and then gives everybody 30% fortify for 2 turns. But if you have a healer on your team, he can quite literally just heal that back, or he can get healed back up. He also increases his accuracy on his skill, on his ultimate, and he also gives DOT immunity on his ultimate. And then, like I said, his skill page also grants DOT immunity if you use like skill 2 or something like that. It's really slipping out of my mind right now because I don't use Ghost like that. But the reason why I put him on this tier, even though I don't use him like that, is because just looking at his kit, it sounds really good. And also, I fought him in PvP sometimes, and sometimes he does make the enemy team that I'm fighting a bit of a bitch to try and like defeat. So Ghost is definitely a good unit, a very good supporter. He's not one of the best supporters in the game. I mean, I guess technically he is since he's in this tier here, but he's not the best supporter in the game. Then we come over to this man Jack right here. So this man Jack, I'm gonna throw him in the can be fun tier. Now, the reason why I say Jack can be fun is because a lot of people shit on Jack. A lot of people think that he is like a very like ass tier, an ass tier DPS, but he's actually just a mid tier DPS. The issue with Jack is that everybody is trying to build their mages with attack, and Jack is somebody who works off of penetration. I remember literally when I used to do Battle Gigas. So whenever you're attacking a mage, the white numbers that show up is going to be like the actual attack stat. Then the red numbers that show up in the parentheses, those are going to be like the penetration stat, right? It's kind of like attack and Pierce and Grand Cross, except for you can actually see penetration separated out, which I do very much like that. I think that was a very smart design choice. Jack is a mage that the attack number is always going to be pretty low, but then his penetration number is going to be really fucking high, right? I've literally done it to where this man Jack is hitting, and this is like very early on in the game, but Jack is hitting for like 10,000 like attack damage, but then like his penetration is like 110,000. So like if you build penetration on Jack, if you can build him properly, he can be a fun unit. You can get some like good attacks out on him. He also has a chance to boost his penetration on his skill 2, but he also boosts his speed on his skill 2. So I think that might be with his skill page, but even still, Jack can be fun sometimes. Can be fun. It's kind of funny. hold off for now means like I would put a pin in that one and maybe not touch for now. Can be fun as like you can work on them if you want. It's not too bad, but obviously look at the top of the tier list here. Make sure that all these mages are worked on first and foremost. These are going to give your account a lot more value than these two down here, these three down here, right? Then we go to seasonal Jack, season 4 Jack, who just came out. I'm going to put this Jack in the hold off for now tier. So basically when this Jack first dropped, I tried to make a case for him, but that's because look at the rankings on the original Jack and Fuego right here, right? I was saying that Jack would be better than this Fuego because this original Fuego was absolute shit tier. This Jack was like, it can't be fun tier, right? And I thought that maybe they would follow kind of like that same like path here with these two, but it seems the roles have been reversed. The only reason why I say hold off on Jack for now is because he requires a lot of setup. Fuego requires some setup, yes. Burn, 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 burn. Big damage, right? Jack's setup is you need to get this specific buff on him called miscalculation. The first time he comes into the battle, if you have his skill page, you get miscalculation. His skill 2 gives him miscalculation, but then you have to wait for his skill 2 to cool down and then come back with another skill 2 later on in the fight and hope that Jack is still alive to get miscalculation. Essentially, when you set up all that miscalculation, you use Jack's ultimate, and then after, if there are 3 stacks of miscalculation on the ultimate, Jack is not only going to do 3 more attacks or deal out damage, 3 more attacks worth of damage to random targets on the enemy team, he will also give himself an increased damage boost of 500%. But like I just said, Fuego was burn, 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 big damage. Did you hear how long I was talking just trying to explain this man Jack's like shit? If you get Jack 5-star, then he starts out with 2 stacks of miscalculation. Then it's literally just use a skill 2 first turn, second turn, use his ultimate, see how hard you wipe the enemy team, right? But since it requires so much setup and it's a sweatier, like, since it's a sweatier option to invest in, that's what I'm saying hold off for now. Whenever I make tier lists like this, I do not want y'all to think that I'm coming at y'all from the perspective of somebody who just spends money all over the fucking game, even though I am, spends money all over the fucking game and, you know, oh, what I say goes. No, I like to think about things in a very sensible format, like, you know, when you look at these characters, doesn't it seem like these characters would really help your account out? Doesn't it really feel like you'll be able to like farm better with somebody who can give you counterattacks, or somebody who can constantly heal you nonstop even if they're stunned, or a tank that can't die, or, you know, so hear me out. I think Jack is a hold off for now. Not bad, but they just made him too sweaty of an option, and the payoff is like not the best, because even when you do super duper sweat with this man, after you get that skill 2 turned off, you still have to wait to come back around for the next turn. I hope that Jack doesn't get burned down by some red fucking Noel, where are you? Yeah, I hope that Jack doesn't get burned down by Noel. So, and Jack is a DPS, so his defense is not that great, so this motherfucker could burn his ass. This motherfucker could definitely burn his ass. It's like Jack is just a hold off for now, man. Next up, we have the man, the myth, the legend, Julius Novachrono. He is a must max tier unit. Julius has very good single target damage. He has very solid AoE damage. He can set back your skill 2 and make it so that you can't use that shit first turn if he goes first. He also has a revive. So if you have Julius 2 stars and he gets killed in PvP, he will come back with 45% of his HP, and if it was his turn next, he still takes his turn next. It's not like him dying like resets his turn counter or anything. Nah, it's like literally he went down, he came back, right? If you get him to 5-star, he comes back with 100% HP, which is just even more menacing. He gives himself buffs constantly. He can buff your team speed. He can debuff your enemy team speed. He can reduce somebody's stamina to 0. Julius hits hard and does a lot. Then this is like mainly, I feel like mostly PvP, where he's like dominant. He's still dominant in like PvE, but I feel like PvP is where you really feel his power as the Wizard King. That's really all I have to say about him. I use him every now and then, but just because I don't farm gear, or not I don't farm gear, but I haven't farmed out gear as much as everybody else has, so I don't have all the full sets. I have a set to put on him, you know, with another like magical attack character, but like I only have one really good like magical attack set right now, and I'm working on the rest of the gear pieces and everything. Then we come over here to Kahono. Kahono is going to be a very good choice. So what I was explaining at the beginning of the video when I said that this tier is pretty much like you pretty much end up in this tier when you were up here, but then like you kind of get bumped down by somebody else. Kahono's direct replacement was like Charmy. So when they talked about replacing Charmy, right, I was like, why they replace another blue healer when they just released a really good blue healer? Kahono does have her like, you know, healing over time. Her ultimate is like a big like one-time heal, and then she also has a shield on her skill too. So she's a very good support mage. She's a very good, you know, like healing mage. But I just feel like Charmy's healing outshines her. Plus, if Kahono gets stunned in PvP, which I've done millions of times, right? If Kahono gets stunned in PvP, that enemy team ain't getting no healing until she comes back. Charmy can still continue to heal your team even if stunned. So Kahono is just kind of like losing to Charmy in that regard, I feel like, but she's not a bad mage at all, right? She's still in the top 2 tiers right here. Next up, we're going to look at Kyato. Kyato, once more, another mage who was kind of like taken away from this top tier to down here, right, by Julius. I feel like Julius, right, Kyato has 1 AoE on his skill 2. He has the single target ultimate. He has the basic skill ultimate, or basic skill single target. So literally his skill set composition is kind of like Julius's, except for he buffs himself a lot and does bigger damage the deeper you get into the fight. Julius is more so like a debuff the enemy team, buff your team, and do big damage either way. So I feel like he is more team oriented, because you got to think, in the actual series, the Knights of the Clover Kingdom, you know, whenever they see Julius, they're like, no, we gotta fight harder. That's our king, that's our Wizard King, that's our captain, pretty much, right? Whereas Kyato, you know, he's more of a, you know, he's honing his own skills to achieve his own dreams, so it reflects in the game, which I do love. They pay very close attention to detail when it comes to characters, but Julius is just going to be a better option overall to put instead of this man Kyato. Leopold, I am gonna put in the hold off for now tier. You know, Leopold has lifesteal, right? And he does extra damage scaling off of his HP. But as a DPS, and as one of the original SSRs in the game, he does not have like the best stats. And especially as the game goes on longer and longer, we'll start to see his stats start to look a little bit more mid the more that we get into it. And I've never really seen anybody pop off with this man Leopold. Never, never, never. Unless there is somebody who has, definitely comment down below my video, give me a link or some shit, but I've never seen anybody pop off with this man Leopold. I've never seen anybody be remotely happy about pulling Leopold, unless they're me, you're going for a full collector account, right? I've never heard of anybody doing anything too incredible with this man Leopold. So I'm gonna put him in the hold off for now tier. But even still, even though I haven't used this man Leopold except for just like affinity farming, I still put him higher than Fuego, because it just feels like Fuego just feels like, I don't know, man. It feels like they cheated this man Fuego to me, and that's very unfair. I think Fuego is a very good character, very deserving of good characters in this game, but Fuego is so not good, bro. Then we have Licht here. Licht, I will put in a very good choice tier. Now, Licht, I do not really have much experience with, right? I use him for farming stages, that's it. He's never been on my PvP team. I literally never even fucking tested him. When Licht and Fauna came out, everybody picked Licht, I picked Fauna, and that's why I maxed out. So Licht kind of like missed his time to shine in the sun, right? Especially because him and Raya got debuffed on, or not debuffed, got nerfed because their team ultimate hit a little crazy. But like, you know, when I use him in the gear farming stage, they're a very good mage, right? He's a very good mage. I don't think he's bad at all. And I heard that when you get him 5 stars, it's just a completely different world with him. So that's why I put him in the very good choice tier, because I've fought Licks in PvP, and they have never single-handedly like ousted my team, like just, oh, one tap this mage, one tap this mage, one tap this mage. No, Licht is more so like everybody else does all the work and then he cleans up. He's never been like the big deciding factor in like my loss in PvP though. So that's why I put him in the very good choice tier, but I can't put him in the must max tier, especially because PvP is not as important as people think. It's literally just you fighting bots. You can literally compose your team differently right before a fight. So it's just like Licht, very good. I would not say a must max. I don't say out of these 3 up here, I don't say that he's a use your max on him first over these 3. Lotus, oh my god, must max. Lotus is somebody you must max, 1, and it's somebody you must reroll for, 2. Whenever the game drops globally, and if you're playing Canada, or you're thinking about playing Canada, or you're thinking about hopping into any version of the game, Lotus is who you're rerolling for automatically. Lotus is literally still the best fucking debuffer in the game. Literally, people thought that Julius was going to take over Lotus' spot as the best debuffer, but instead, they made this man Lotus a, that's crazy. All these 5-star, all these must max up here, they're all one of each class too, but Lotus literally still reigns the king of debuffing. He is ridiculous. Real is a very good debuffer that I've learned recently, but he's RNG dependent sometimes. So Real is very, no, not Real. Lotus is very, very good. He still dominates the game. He still lowers the enemy speed like non-stop. He has incapacitate. He can take away buffs. He has concentrated damage debuff. He does a lot, man. Then we're gonna move over to Mars. And like, I'm sorry to kind of just like rush through that man Lotus like that, but I just feel like he's been in the game since day 1, and like people have made content on this man for eons. Like literally everybody knows what this man Lotus can do. Everybody knows Lotus is incredible. Then we come over here to Mars. Mars is a very, very good tank. He has very high HP, he has very good defense, he is a physical attack mage, which secretly kind of like does pretty good damage. I really think that there's like something in the game where if you're a physical mage, you just do a bit more damage to like magical like mages instead, right? But Mars is very good tank. He has taunts on him. He can stun the entire enemy team. Now, when he's linked up with Lotus, or when he's beside Lotus, they have a different ultimate. I'm pretty sure it's Silences or something like that. But when you have him put beside anybody else who doesn't have a partner attack with him, he has a chance to stun the entire enemy team. That stun has saved my life so many times, not only in PvP, but also in like farming content. Like I said, big HP pool, big defense, good damage. Good damage for a Guardian, I feel like. Real can get the better of him sometimes because he Real does extra damage to defender class mages, but this man Mars boosts his defense, I'm pretty sure, with his stars when you get his passive unlocked, or his unique passive. But also, if you have Mars' skill page, he stacks extra like fortitude. Yes, he stacks fortitude for every time he gets hit in a turn. It stacks up to like 5 times, I believe. So he can actually stack pretty crazy on that and like just eat damage. And like literally, you attack with 4 different mages in the turn, and like each attack is just going to be lower and lower and lower. And if your mages are set up in a way where the strongest mage is the slowest mage, like say you have Yami and he's like your strongest mage on your team. Yami is pretty slow. It's explained in the show that dark magic is some of the slowest magic, so in the game it makes sense for him to be one of the slowest mages, right? If you have somebody like Yami and he's going to be your last attacker, this man Mars is going to get attacked 3 times beforehand, and he's already going to have 3 stacks that damage reduction. Then he's going to get hit by Yami, and then he's going to maybe not eat that hit, but he is type advantage against Yami, so he could probably eat that hit, right? Then we have Mimosa. Oh my god, Mimosa is god tier. So what I was talking about earlier, talking about how I don't like mages that heal based off a magical attack, because if your magical attack is lower, then you're looking kind of dumb. It doesn't, I'm not gonna say it doesn't matter for Mimosa, but the one thing that makes Mimosa really incredible is the fact that she has a revive. If you have a unit that dies, Mimosa will literally bring them back to life. That is like the big thing, right? And like that's the main thing that kind of puts her in this tier alone, right? But like she has good healing on her basic skill. She has good healing on her skill too, and her ultimate skills. Sorry, I had a yawn there. And not to mention her ultimate skill is a revive. She has a heal on her, or she has a buff, I think, on her combo skill. But yeah, like literally nobody else in the game can revive somebody. You have mages who can like, you know, survive a KO hit on their own, but like nobody can revive anybody else. That is a power and ability strictly exclusive to Mimosa, and for that she will stay god tier until they release another Mimosa who can revive everybody or some crazy shit, right? Then we move to Noelle. Noelle is going to be another must max unit. Noelle is an absolute monster. When she came out into the game, people were talking about nerfing her because she was so damn good. She's a season 2 mage. So all of you Canada players, if your second month has not started yet, because I don't know when the Canadian version dropped, if your second month has not started yet, she's on the way, and definitely be on the lookout for her. She has a shield that has a counterattack attached to it. She has big damage with her ultimate. She has big damage with her first skill, and both of those are AoEs as well, so you can constantly burn away the enemy team. That shield, and also, so the way that Noelle's shield works is everybody on the team gets a shield, but then you can choose a specific mage, and that mage that you choose gets another shield that pretty much just negates damage altogether, unless you can just damage it out completely, which is going to take a lot of damage. Then she also gives that mage who has a secondary overshield, gives them counterattacks. So she is a very good defensive and offensive unit at the same time, which is ridiculous. That's what made her feel so powerful, in my opinion, whenever she first came out. Like, you can have her no dupes and still hit some of the nuttiest numbers you'll ever fucking see. And it's just the fact that she's giving you that shield and giving you that extra little bit of survivability, but typically she has the damage to kind of like back up that shield and also kill you before the shield is even gone. Noelle is going to be in the hold off for now tier. I've not used Noelle. Literally, I've used all these mages at some point just to farm their affinity, right? But other than that, Noelle is not somebody I'm looking in my character box to reach to. They did just recently buff him, but didn't they buff him before whenever they buffed this man Fuego, right? But I still feel like he has a little more utility than this man Fuego because he is a debuffer and he can poison and he can lower speed and he can do things of that nature. He is just not the best. I just don't know if I would recommend throwing materials onto that man right now. I'm just not 100% sure. And now also, for the next mage we're going to talk about, right? We're talking about this man Mars right here earlier and how we said he's a very good choice. You'll notice there are no tanks in the top tier here, but I said typically if you are top tier, you probably get pushed down by somebody else. Raddy's. Raddy's is an absolute terror. He has the shield that is based off of his magical attack. If you have really good magical attack on your gear, so like substats or stats in general, and you can also like get this man get this man skill level 5 on his ultimate, then that shield is going to last for eons. It's like, honestly, dude, whenever you're fighting a Raditz in PvP and you see him pop the shield, there's two things that happen. He pops the shield and the shield's not that big because nobody leveled up their skill, nobody leveled up their man's gear, and you can just burn through the shield real quick. Or his shield is basically a second little bar of HP and you kind of want to just exit the match. And sometimes you do, or sometimes you actually try to win it, and you know, sometimes you lose and you rebuild your team, etc, etc. But yeah, no, Raditz is an absolute menace. He also has a defense buff on his skill 2, which makes you even more tankier, even beefier, and he has poison on his skill 1, I believe. But yeah, and honestly, you hear me sound kind of confused when I'm talking about some of the effects on some of these mages. It's because a lot of the stuff that I do, I auto battle. I don't. People get tired of farming in this game. I never get tired of farming because I literally just let auto battle do the work for me, and I'm just kind of like out of there, right? But let's go ahead and talk about this man, Raya. So Raya is going to be somebody that I would say hold off. Actually, I use Raya on my farming team. I don't know if I want to put Raya on hold off. I'm gonna put him in can be fun. I'm gonna put Raya in the can be fun tier. So the reason why I say Raya can be fun is because, you know, he's literally just a mirror copy of Yami, except for he has some extra skills, or he has some extra different effects on his skills, right? On his skill 1, he does an additional attack if he's buffed, and that can be really good because, you know, you can get an AoE swipe on everybody because, like I said, he's just a copy of Red Yami. He's gonna get an AoE swipe on everybody, and then he can do another additional like attack that's like 30% or 50% or something like that of the original power that you hit them with. Not to mention, on his skill 2, he can take debuffs, or no, he can take buffs away from the enemy team, and he can put them onto himself. So let's break down how that works. Without a skill page, Raya can take your buff, but you still would have your buff if he took it from you. With his skill page, he takes away your buff, and he steals the buff. So it's like a complete stealing, a complete robbery of the buff from you, right? Then his ultimate does really good damage. Does he also do an additional attack? Am I getting his... Does he get additional attack on his ultimate if he's buffed up? Or does he get like guaranteed crit? Let me pull Raya up real quick off to the side. This is one I really got to look at. Yes, if you have a buff on your first skill, he does an extra attack. He could have 30% of his own attack and magical attack. If you have, if you have 2 or more buffs when you do his ultimate, you do extra 70% of attack and magical attack as damage. Attack after gaining 15% increased damage dealt for each active buff on yourself. So you can get him pretty nutty. You can get him pretty crazy, and you can boost him up pretty much. The only problem that I have with him is that I feel like they really missed the opportunity. So, Red Yami's skill page gives him an extra percentage of crit rate every turn that an ally does a turn, and it doesn't reset until like the next wave starts, right? I feel like Raya should have gotten a skill page similar to that because he is somebody who works a lot better when he has buffs on him. But even still in buffs is fun. It's cool. You know, he's definitely not the best. Out of these two, I'd say Licht is absolutely the prize that you're going for because these two have a combo skill as well. But definitely he's better than Veto at the very least. You know, Veto and him released at the same time, and honestly, don't even look at Veto's fucking banner, dude. But yeah, Raya's decent. He's not that bad. He's okay. Next, we're gonna put Real in the can be fun category. So the reason why I put Real in the can be fun category is because I use Real on my PvP team as of current, and Real can be really fucking good. No pun intended. He can be really good. He has defense lowering on the enemy team. He hits harder against tanks, and you know tanks are always going to be on the team. And he also can stun with his ultimate. The reason why I say he can be really good is because I have gone into some matches where the enemy team does not have debuff immunity, but Real just doesn't stun anybody. And then at that point, it's just kind of like, what are you good for? Because if somebody on your team is like faster than you, they're gonna sneak in a turn real quick, and they could shift the whole battle depending on who's attacking. Like if it's Lotus who's attacking before the rest of your team attacks, you might not be getting the rest of your team to attack because they might end up getting shredded before you can even get back around to those mages, right? But Real is still a good unit nonetheless, but he's just very RNG heavy on that first turn, man. That stun is his best feature, and if you cannot get that stun off, then you're looking kind of fucked sometimes. So I do want to put him in the can be fun tier. Another can be fun tier, we're going to put Sally here because Sally, she's a buffer, and first of all, her buffs are not fully maximized. One of her buffs is not fully maximized unless you're on the team of all red mages, so that does limit her team building just a tiny bit. She can still do all her other buffs though with her, whether the team is all red or not. One thing that I don't like about Sally is like her buffing just doesn't feel as consistent. It's like you use her buff and you do really big damage for one turn, but it's because her ultimate has like a really crazy buff. or a debuff to it, right, on the enemy team or a buff to your team. And, you know, after that, you just kind of wait for that ultimate to come back up. The rest of her buffs sometimes don't feel as crucial. Like, you know, her other buffs are still good. One of the buffs is going to be buffing the mage's magical attack, buffing a mage's magical attack. Whoever has the highest attack, right? But when I run like Yami sometimes my Yami's attack is higher than the Noelle's, believe it or not. And literally, Sally will buff him instead of Noelle. And I'm just like, well, that doesn't really work out. Her skill 1 has 90% life steal, but it hits like fucking wet poo. So it's not really doing that much damage. Her second skill, grants an ally increased magic attack level 4 for 2 turns, and grants increased crit rate level 4 to an ally for 2 turns, 60% chance to extend a buff duration, and then grants 90% life steal to the ally who has less than 30% HP. Yes, this all sounds really fucking good, but that magical attack increase is what kills me, because sometimes you have physical attack like mages, right, and you want to boost their physical attack, but then the magical attack, and like, yes, the magical attack is going to still give you a damage buff at some degree, but I feel like the physical attack is more so what you want to get buffed on, like maybe like Red Yami, right? Or who else is a red mage that is a physical attacker? There's not that many, but either way, I just feel like she's not the best for like all physical attacker like type of mages. She's more so for like magical mages, which is whatever. All mages use magic, but some of them are more physically like inclined, right? So I'm gonna put her in the can be fun category just because her buffs really don't be feeling as consistent. Like sometimes I run the red gear stage and I'll use her, or sometimes I'll switch her out with Finral. Finral's buffing is more consistent. He just gets more turns faster. His buff, it feels like it just kind of lasts over a long time. It feels like Sally, her buff, she kind of set up for a really big turn. Vanessa is going to be another can be fun mage. She does pretty solid damage. I've used her. She's not bad, but the thing is, it's really weird. Her buffs come from having damage resistance, but she's a DPS, so you want to build her like damage wise. And like, let's read her passive. If damage resistance is equal to 205 or higher, grants 3% increased damage dealt. If damage resistance is 270 or higher, increases damage dealt by 5%. If damage resistance is equal to 310, increases damage dealt by 10%. All really cool. Also, at the start of the wave, grants protection to an ally with the lowest speed for 2 turns, so they can't get hit for 2 turns, right? That's really good. But it just feels like maybe she shouldn't have been a DPS. I feel like they should have gone like the support route with her instead. Her skill 1 grants self blessing of protection. The blessing of protection is when damage is blocked, restore 8% of the HP. Restore 8% of your max HP, right? And if you have her skill page, then it grants her debuff immunity for 2 turns as well. But it's just like, it feels like, or that's her skill 2, I'm sorry. Her skill 1 is a bleed. I was a little confused by that. I was like, I'm pretty sure skill 1 is a bleed. But yeah, her kit, it just feels like there are some mages who are like attack mages and they have extra support in their kits. Noelle. They have extra support in their kits, but like they didn't go super duper crazy with the extra support, right? But like then you have like Vanessa here who is giving herself blessing of protection and debuff immunity, which is like weird for an attacking character. I feel like silence isn't bad, 50% chance of silence on the enemy, but what sucks is you can't boost the silence chance, so that kind of blows. If an enemy is inflicted with a debuff, attacks after granting 30% increased damage. So yes, debuffing an enemy, then using her skills card will boost her damage by 30%. But it's like, why is her damage being based off of damage resistance? I feel like usually they wait a little later into games like this to start doing that, where it's just like, oh, build a mage one way and then boom, they're correct. But like maybe I'm just missing something. You want to build her all damage resistance and then that'll stack her attack up. But like even still though, it's just increased damage. It's not like it's saying you get her damage resistance higher and you increase her actual attack stats. So I don't know. Vanessa, I feel like she can be fun if you get her that damage resistance like you need, but like as of right now, I just don't know. I feel like it can be fun. And also to hold off for now, how I say wait for the game to develop a little more and see how they do. Like same thing for the can be fun tier, right? I just feel like maybe these guys will get you a little more use than these guys down here. Veto's ass, Veto's dick, Veto's garbage. Veto is a tank, but works on attack. Doesn't make sense. So Veto reduces weapon damage by 23% on his skill 1, which is cool and all. That's a single target. His skill 2. If your HP is 60% or lower, attacks granting yourself 50% life steal. For each fallen ally, attacks after granting 20% increased damage dealt. 60% chance to inflict extended debuff for one turn. So, let me tell you the problem with this. The problem with this is, yes, this man Veto can increase the damage he deals to the enemy team, but why did your team have to die for that increased damage? That's just so bad. It's like he's a tank. The whole point is that he's taking the hit so nobody else is dying. And also, you have to get to 60% or lower HP to get the fucking to get the lifesteal. I don't know, man. I just feel like they kind of fumbled that one. Also, attacks with 70% lifesteal on his ultimate and grants 35% lifesteal when attacking an enemy inflicted with disarm. So he can give himself extra lifesteal, basically. He's supposed to just be a vampire, essentially, but like, it just feels like to get the rest of his kit, like, why do you don't want your mages dying? That just doesn't make any sense to me at all. His united attack grants increased damage dealt in proportion to the current HP. And he is team attack with Fauna. That's with Fauna, right? So the team attack without Fauna is going to be 60% chance to taunt an enemy for 1 turn. As a tank, having only 1 taunt in your kit at all just doesn't sit right with me. I just don't like that. He has really high HP though, so I mean, I guess he can work off that. If you get his passive with the star, so like 2-star, grant 7% reduced damage taken when attacked by a boss. I don't like attacked by a boss. I don't like by a boss. I don't like, you know, when attacking specific class. Like, I'm not a big fan of that. Grants 15% fortify for 1 turn when using lifesteal, and that's going to be his like passive that you unlock when you get him to LR, right? But yeah, Veto's pretty ass. He wants to damage, but he needs to tank, and when he does tank, he's not the best at tanking. It's whatever. Cool. Vengeance is a must max unit. Vengeance is really crazy, right? So his skill 1 has a chance to turn the enemy into a tree, which makes them lose a turn. That is mutate. That's the effect, right? The mutate is not turning somebody into a tree. Mutate is turning somebody into something that they originally were not. So like, he can turn them into a tree. Somebody can there's Nebra who can turn you into like a little like cocoon of like mist or some shit like that, right? So mutate's a really good effect to have on your skill 1 especially. His skill 2 is a speed buff, and it also gives you speed, gives you attack, 60% chance to increase your stamina, if it's lower than 50%, of course. And then if you have his skill page, he grants an ally status change immunity for 1 turn, so they can't be mutated. His ultimate literally gives you Fortify level 3, which gives you 34% reduced damage taken, and he gives counterattack to the ally with the highest attack for 1 turn. So Vengeance is a very, very good defensive support option. Also, he grants himself and the partner mage defense penetration level 4 if you use your combo skill on them, and that just ignores 40% of defense, right? His skill, when you get him to 2-star, is going to be 30% chance to grant 10% increased stamina upon taking damage. So he has a little chance to get more stamina throughout the fight as long as whenever he's getting hit, which makes him a little bit, which can technically kind of set him up to get your turn back before the enemy team finishes their full rotation of turns. And also, when you get him to LR, he grants all allies 5% fortify for 1 turn whenever he uses his special skills. So not only does he get him 34% fortify with his ultimate, he also gives him an extra 5%, so that's 39% fortify actually whenever he uses ultimate. So Vanch is a very, very good mage that you definitely want to look out for, and when you get him, you absolutely do want to max him out. The next mage, we have Yami. Yami is still a very good damage dealing, you know, farming unit till this day. He works very much off of crit. Pretty much the more that he crits, the more chances he has to do like different things, right? So on his skill 1, which is an AoE, that hits very hard, right? His AoE has a chance, if you crit one person, you bleed everybody, right? And then once you bleed somebody, you can literally stun them guaranteed whenever he does his second skill. And if you attack a boss, he does 30% increased damage. Now, I know I just said I don't like the boss, you know, restriction, the boss restriction, type restriction, whatever. But, like, Yami actually does do really, really good damage against the boss. This is the one case where I'm just like, you know, I'll let it slide. Not just because Yami is my favorite character, but because, like, his buffs are so sizable, you know, from fighting a boss, right? So, attacks the boss after granting himself 30% increased damage dealt on his skill 2, right? And grants 10% increased crit damage for 2 turns for each instance of continued damage the enemy is taking. So, if you're bleeding the enemy, and you're fighting a boss, you're also gonna do 30% increased damage on your skill 2, and you're also gonna do 10% increased crit damage if you have them bleeding already, and you stun them, of course. Then he casts powerful dark magic on his ultimate attack, dealing damage to the enemy. Grants increased crit rate level 2 for 2 turns, so that gives him a better chance to crit. And he has a 60% chance to inflict bleed on an enemy, dealing continuous damage, of course. So you could literally use Yami's skill 1 or his ultimate, and then use the skill 2 right after, get a guaranteed stun off, get some increased crit damage if you have his skill page, and getting the increased damage not with the skill page, right? That's just for the continuous damage. Or actually when you're attacking a boss. Then his passive skill is gonna be, his combo skill is going to be, if he has a buff, he attacks after granting 15% increased damage dealt. So literally, buff this man Yami, attacks after giving himself 15% increased damage, and that attack is also an AoE. He has a united attack with Jack, which attacks 40%, which attacks with 40% of increased damage dealt if an enemy is taking continuous damage from bleed. So if an enemy is bleeding, he's gonna do 40% increased damage, right? That also hits everybody. And him and Jack's like combo skill, that shit is an AoE, so it gives Jack a little more viability because it gives him an extra little AoE skill. If you get this man Yami to 2-star, he does 7% increased damage dealt to a boss. And if you get Yami to 5-star, I'm pretty sure it just doubles up to like 14% increased damage dealt to a boss. Yes, that is exactly what it does. And if you get him to LR in the first place, grants 15% increased crit damage. So Yami does really good damage. He, you know, swipes the entire enemy team. If you can crit and get bleeds and all of that, because bleed is a good effect. Bleed, you know, deals extra damage over time. Like, especially when you're bleeding them every turn, you're just gonna be doing an extra 5% of their HP like every time. 5% of their maximum HP at that. So literally, if you have them below 5% of their HP bar, then like they're dead the next time that they come back. He also can get the stuns off. He can do the crit damage. Yami just does a lot when he's critting. He's still a very good farmer to this day. And honestly, people were talking about how blue Yami was better than this Yami just because blue Yami is a blue mage, and I'm just like, that's not how that works, because I've burned blue Yami plenty of times in PvP with a red Yami, so it's not that simple. Come right here. Also, guys, I just want to make another point. Earlier when I was talking about Raya, his buff stealing is really cool, but there are sometimes like events that you do and the mobs that you're fighting don't even buff, so it's just like his buff's still really kind of useless sometimes, and that's another thing that I don't like about him. I just thought about that while I was looking at blue Yami here. But blue Yami, I'm also going to throw in a hold off before you build type of state, because before, the argument was a little bit there because, you know, Fauna wasn't in the game at the start, but Blue Yami was, and like maybe you needed somebody to help you do damage in like the red gear stage and all that, right? But like now that Fauna's out on release, I'd say just go ahead and go for her as opposed to him. Blue Yami's skill 1 is a single target that increases all attack level 1 upon having 4 more SP. So if you use your ultimate first, which, you know, if you're farming auto and like your bot is like just doing his ultimate, you're not gonna have more than 4 SP. You're not gonna get this increased attack level up, and the increased attack up is like 30%, which is not bad, but it's like only level 1. Then we have, which I guess is fair because he is an attacking unit. He's not really meant for support, so that is fair. That is accurate, I feel like. Then we come to his skill 2, which is an AoE, which I do like, but I'm more AoE like heavy when it comes to mages. I like AoE. He blocks healing and he grants SP +1 to himself. And if you have his skill page, he grants SP +2. He removes one of his own debuffs, and then when a debuff is removed, he gains 15% increased damage. Then we come down to his ultimate. He takes away 3 SP from the enemy and gives total silence, which means you can only use skill 1. No, silence is only being able to use skill 1. Total silence is, maybe you can use skill 1 or your combo skill? I don't know. Total silence is a little different, right? It doesn't have a description for it on the wiki, but he can silence you, and he reduces your skill points -4 if you get this to level 4. Then his combined attack, he can remove a barrier and then attack. And then his, when you get him to LR, he gets 15% increased favor damage. And then when you get him to 2-star, he does 5% extra damage dealt. The reason why I put this man in hold off is because like he falls off, man. Like they added like a pretty solid amount of like green mages into the game that can burn this man, and then also a lot of the mages that they dropped that are top tier literally fucking are blue mages, right? And like that automatically takes away his increased favor damage. So I'm just kind of like, I don't know about that. And like he doesn't have like, yes, he has an AoE attack, but it's on his skill 2. You have to wait for that to come back. And it's just like, yes, HP recovery is nice, but when you have to wait 3 turns for your skill to come back and that only lasts 1 turn, yes, you can kill an enemy, but like if they have a barrier, it's really not that impactful. Because, you know, they can just survive with their barrier. Their barrier, like healing is bringing back your HP. A barrier just overshields your HP. So it's kind of like an indirect healing, right? You can, and it's not healing, but it's like you have a defense against him like hitting you the next turn. I don't know. It just feels like he was never like really that incredible to me because, like I said, I burned blue Yamis with my red Yami. I do not care, bro. He just doesn't feel like he doesn't feel as formidable as a foe whenever I face him. That's why I put him down here in this category. I guess he could be in a can be fun kind of like, you know, place because he has the HP blocking. He can boost your SP and he can take away SP, but like mages are not 100% their ultimate. The ultimate does not make the mage, right? You have other skills that can be utilized to, you know, get the ultimate in, or not get the ultimate in, but get damage in, right? So I don't know, man. I put him in hold off for now. If I'm feeling like super duper nice, I'll put him in can be fun. but I'm gonna put him in hold on for now because I want 1,000,001 people to come to this video and fucking rage in my comments about how I grossly underestimate Blue Yami, even though I burn him all the time. I just want people to do that. It's gonna be hilarious. And then the last mage, we're gonna have Season 2 Yuno. Season 2 Yuno is a very good choice because Season 2 Yuno has a incapacitate on his ultimate. He also can lower your speed with his basic attack, I'm pretty sure, even though it's single target. He has two AoE skills, which I do very much like. Well, technically 3 because his team skill is also going to be an AoE. But he also has a skill 2 that lowers enemy attack by 44%. And if you have his skill page, I believe he does an extra 10% on the attack reduction. So he's very, very good for like survivability. No, it's not even his skill page. It's actually on his unique passive. If you have him 2-star, he applies 10% attack reduction to enemies for 2 turns upon using skill 2. So he already has a 44% reduction plus the 10% reduction. And if you get him to 5-star, or no, that's not his star passive. It's the unique passive. So it's the passive when you get him to LR. So yeah, he has 54% damage reduction on the enemy, or attack reduction on the enemies, which makes your team survive so much more. And then his passive on the stars is upon landing a crit has a 50% chance to apply 10% increased damage taken to all enemies for 2 turns. So he's a very good debuffer. He is not Lotus level, but he is pretty damn good, I feel like. So, you know, put some faith in that boy, you know. He might do you some good. But that is it for this tier list right here. If you feel like I didn't go into anybody like super in-depth, comment down below. Maybe I'll go back in depth with them on the video of their own. If you feel like I like misrank somebody, I don't care. This is based off of my personal experience. You can argue with me day in and day out and day in and day out, but as somebody who has every single character in the game and almost has all of them level 100 and has actually used all of them in some capacity and has faced all of them in some capacity, has interacted with every single character in the game without making gross like, you know, assumptions about characters, I feel like this is a pretty like solid list, somewhat accurate, man. And honestly, I guess I could just be a Blue Yami hater because I love Red Yami more than Blue Yami, and Blue Yami never felt that impactful to me. But for that, I will put him here. How about that? I'll put him right here. And honestly, I feel like it's a little unfair to say that Leopold is better than Fuego when, you know, I'll do this. How about this? This is what I was feeling. I was looking at that. I was looking at Leopold and Fuego like in relation to each other earlier, and I was like, you know, that doesn't feel right. I feel like maybe I'm doing that man Fuego very dirty, right? But like, I will leave it as this. So, very good to see that we have majority, how many, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that makes this like 19 mages right here, and there's only 31 in the game, so that means there's 12 down here. Very good to see that we have like good options for the majority of the mages in the game, and even at the midway point, you know, these guys I would even consider like solid like options, right? But these guys down here I don't know about, which is upsetting because I was very excited to use these two in like tandem together, and like honestly by the time I got all the mages worked on, I didn't even look back at these motherfuckers. But yeah, man, that's gonna be it for the tier list. Hope you guys did enjoy, and if you hated it, please rage in my comments. That shit would be so funny to look at. I'm not gonna make a video to acknowledge you, but like it'd just be funny to look at. But that's gonna be it for your boy DEADMANVINCE. Hope you guys did enjoy this tier list. The next one that's gonna come out is gonna be an SR mage tier list and then a rare mage tier list. But that's gonna be it for this video. Hope that you guys enjoy, and I will post this one to Twitter. But you guys have a good one. You guys make sure to surpass your limits, and also make sure to go down below, crack that like button, crack that subscribe button, and leave some comments down below, because the dead man takes his time and thinks about what he says before he puts it out, so that you guys can get a more accurate depiction of the game instead of all these false sweats who spend a little bit of money and then summon for units and don't work on all their units and then just say shit about other units just from reading their kit. I have learned time and time again that just reading the mage do not tell you the full story. But that's gonna be it for this one. Hope you guys did enjoy. Peace out.